Diabetes occurs when the amount of blood sugar is higher than average. Diabetes is a major cause of blindness, kidney failure, heart attack, stroke, and lower limb amputation. Conducting this study brought back dreadful experiences that my family encountered. My grandmother was my first-hand experience where I got to understand the awful reality of diabetes. She was constantly in pain, she consistently took insulin injections, and even underwent dialysis until she passed. Since then, I was persistently reminded to mind my eating habits and lifestyle because diabetes is mostly mature onset, so I was always aware. Carrying out this case study gave me new knowledge and information I didn't know, especially that in pedigree, I get to comprehend the complexity of heredity and genetics. Throughout the lessons in genetics, I gained recognition about the importance of learning the history of bloodlines and understanding how things become what they are. It's fascinating to study the depths of science and how it directly and indirectly influences our lives, that in the case study, digging information and learning the complicated field of medicine and genetics shed light to a different kind of awareness that everyone should have. Its impact to me is that it made me become more health conscious, especially that diabetes runs in the history of our family. And through this activity, I get to also share some background to educate more people. The case study covered a lot of topics that definitely gave supplemental insights, emphasizing more on defining the health condition, its background, the genetics behind it, prevention, and such. Having the opportunity to tackle this type of matter is an eye-opener as to how intricate and diverse diseases can be, especially that genetics is also involved and included. I already know that diabetes is a very serious disease that requires long-term medication, but registering it now, there's more to that aspect that needs to be observed, and the case study provided that.
Greetings, ma'am. So I'm here today to talk about my insights on our case study. Our group have picked diabetes to be our case study's main topic. So diabetes mellitus, or what is generally known as diabetes, is a disease where your sugar level in your body is too high, and that is maybe because of your body's issue with insulin. So this is where the types of diabetes comes in. The type 2 diabetes is where your muscles, fats, and liver becomes insulin resistant. But first of all, insulin is a type of hormone found in the pancreas that is responsible for regulating the amount of sugar and carbohydrates in our body. When our body becomes insulin resistant, our blood sugar would not be regulated, and it would be even more dangerous if our sugar level becomes too high, because it would result to hyperglycemia, and it would cause you to have extreme hunger, thirst, vomiting, and other symptoms. Another reason why diabetes is threatening is because it can also be genetic, and it can be because of some genes like the HLA-DR3 or the HLA-DR4. These genes in your body can cause higher risk of having a diabetes. I know how hard it is to have diabetes because I have witnessed how the colleague of my mother is living her daily life. So back when I was on the 8th grade, our subject, which was biotechnology, I was tasked to do an interview and observation on a diabetic patient. It is at that time when I saw her undergoing her daily dialysis, and I felt sad due to the fact that she had to do it for the rest of her life. And I also saw her taking her daily insulin shots, and even told me on the interview that she is not allowed to jog on a full glass of water because she said, kung ginawa ko yun, lolobo yung katawan ko. So she is intaking water by licking ice cubes to not shock her body. Her life literally depends on those treatments, and that is why I think it is important for us to prevent such disease, especially others say that this type of disease is namamana. Learning about diabetic cases is also important because it raises awareness. We should also be aware of our family's genetic history and the current diet that we are eating, for us to be mindful of our risk of having diabetes.
am Micaela Zisabala from Doctor of Dental Medicine 1. I am here today to broadcast our topic in case study, which is a diabetes. First of all, what diabetes is all about? Let me think of that. Diabetes is a chronic long-lasting health condition that affects how your body turns food into energy. Most of the food you eat is broken down into sugar, also called glucose, and released into your bloodstream. When your blood sugar goes up, it signals your pancreas to release insulin. That diabetes is all about. It is a condition in which a body does not properly process food for use as energy. Most of the food we eat turn into glucose or sugar for our bodies for use for energy. The pancreas, an organ that lies near the stomach, makes a hormone called insulin to help glucose get into cells of our bodies. Scope and limitations of diabetes. The scope of this study mainly focuses on a brief account is given the current knowledge, experiments, and other clinical findings concerning the surgical management of diabetes. The aim of all treatments from conventional pancreas transplant to the sophisticated transplantation of islets and pancreas, and a subject with its own special features, namely interrupted bypass, is to relieve the patient from insulin management, which while it increases his survival, does not defend him from possible fatal vascular complications. Though far from providing a final solution, each of the topics dealt with provides an example of the way research and clinical practice continue to offer reasons for the experimentation of a new therapeutic techniques.
Good afternoon, ma'am. I am Marjorie Velasquez. So the things that I've learned in our case study is that there are two types of diabetes. So for the first one, the type 1 diabetes, it is a disorder characterized by abnormally high blood sugar level. And in this form of diabetes, the specialized cells in the pancreas called the beta cells start producing insulin. And the insulin controls how much glucose pass from the blood into cells for the energy conversions. And for the lack of insulin, it results for the inability to use the glucose for energy or to control the amount of sugar in the blood. And for the type 2 diabetes, it can be inherited, and there will be high greater chance of having it, and it will be lifetime risk of developing type 2 diabetes, about 70% if both of your parents are affected of type 2 diabetes, and about 40% if one of your parents affected of type 2 diabetes. And lifestyle choices can also affect the development of type 2 diabetes, such as lack of exercise, unhealthy meal planning choices, overweight or obesity. And genes also do play a role in the two types of diabetes, and also lifestyle choices, it is important. There are 6 several ways to prevent diabetes before it starts. So first, cut sugars and refined carbohydrates. So eating food high in sugars and refined carbohydrates may increase the level of blood sugars and insulin level that may lead to diabetes over time. Second one is quit smoking. So if you are tobacco user, smoking can contribute to insulin resistance that may lead to type 2 diabetes. So for the third one, watch your portion. So avoiding large portion size may reduce the increasing of insulin level and blood sugars that may decrease the risk of diabetes. So for the fourth one, aim for 30. So be intentionally active into walking, dancing, lifting, and swimming for 13 minutes every 5 days a week, or rather. And for the fifth one, drink water. So drinking water instead of beverages can help control the insulin level and blood sugars that may reduce the risk of diabetes. And for the sixth, eat fiber. So having plenty fiber may make it goods for the gut of health and weight management.
Diabetes is a complex condition. Several factors must come together for you to develop type 2 diabetes. If a family history of diabetes, if you're diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, there is a good chance that you're not the first person with diabetes in your family. You're more likely to develop the conditions if a parent or siblings has it. Several gene mutations have been linked to the development of type 2 diabetes. These gene mutations can interact with the environment and each other to further increase your risk. Scientists have linked several gene mutations to a higher diabetes risk. Not everyone who carries a mutation will get diabetes. However, many people with diabetes do have one more of these mutations. It can be difficult to separate genetic risk from environment risk. The latter is often influenced by your family members. For example, parents with healthy eating habits are likely to pass them on the next generation.
Hello everyone! My insights about this case study pertaining to diabetes 2 is that it does not have a clear pattern of inheritance, which means some people may have this disease or the first generation may have this disease, but it doesn't mean that this disease will be passed down to the following generation. The second generation may just have developed the risk of having this disease, so many people think that it is inherited. I also have realized that the research and case study is almost similar to each other, but the research is more complicated compared with case study. I have also learned the treatment and the reasons why people with this disease got this disease. And I also have learned that diabetes is the condition of the body where it does not properly process food for us to use as energy. I also have learned that these cells, which are the fats, liver, and the muscles, become resistant to insulin, meaning that the pancreas is unable to produce enough insulin to manage blood sugar. Because these cells don't interact in a normal way with insulin, so they don't take enough sugar, and the pancreas is also unable to produce enough insulin so to manage blood sugar levels. That's all.
A pleasant day to everyone. So now I'm going to share something about our chosen topic or disease, the diabetes. So we all know that diabetes is a chronic health condition that affects on how our body turns food into energy. So the one that is responsible for this is our pancreas. Why? Why pancreas? Because pancreas produces two hormones, the insulin and glucagon. So when the pancreas does not produce the right amount of insulin that our body needs, diabetes occur. And when our pancreas does not secrete insulin, diabetes occur as well. So there are three types of diabetes. The type 1 diabetes is when our pancreas does not produce any type of insulin. So the type 2 diabetes is when our body does not respond to the insulin, or when the pancreas does not produce the right amount of insulin. And the gestational pregnancy, it happens during pregnancy, because during pregnancy there are some forms of insulin resistance that is happening in our body. So the signs and symptoms of the diabetes, which is the type 2 diabetes we're talking about, but type 1 and type 2 diabetes has almost the same signs and symptoms. They're just the same. So, in fact, you can be living for years without knowing that you have a diabetes. Uh, the signs and symptoms occur slowly when there's an increased thirst, when frequent urination is happening, and in addition to that, the urine has a sugar in it, and it's not a good sign. Increased hunger, weight loss, fatigue, slow healing of sores, frequent infection, numbness or tingling of hands, areas of darkened skin, just like the armpits and neck. And also, there are some just like blurred vision and etc. So, diabetes is diagnosed and managed by checking your glucose level in a blood test. There are three tests that can measure your blood glucose level: the fasting glucose test, random glucose test, and A1C test. So, in our case study, or in the pedigree, it is shown that the diabetes is hereditary. It can be passed from generation to generation to generation, because when we made a pedigree from generation 1 to 5, all of them has diabetes. But not all of the children, but every generation has diabetes, and there is no skips. And this type of disease is an autosomal dominant.
In this case study, we will learn about diabetes, how it will be diagnosed, what causes it, the signs and symptoms, how to prevent it, and the treatment and remedy as well. Early detection and treatment of diabetes is a key step towards keeping people with diabetes healthy. It can help to reduce the risk of serious complication, because if we just take it for granted, there will be some comorbid consequences like heart attack, stroke, kidney diseases, some amputation of our body, and blindness, and so on. Diabetes is a worldwide problem. So we should balance our diet, exercise, and have a checkup routine as well. I learned that as an individual person, I should take care of myself and my loved ones too. We should observe that if we feel something, we should ask for the help of the doctor. So I suggest let us all visit our doctor for some checkups. I believe that prevention is still better than any cure.
This case study will help us to be a critical thinker. It will give us a knowledge and learnings, and also provide us an information that we can apply or use in our daily life. Case study is a facts or knowledge. By doing case study or research, we will know if it is really the truth or just a lie. For instance, this case study about diabetes. We all know that diabetes is one of the risky diseases that people have. And as we face these high numbers of diabetes and pre-diabetes cases, it's important that everyone in the country learns as much as they can about recognizing and preventing diabetes. We all know that awareness is one of the key to deal with this disease. Only by understanding what diabetes is, what causes of diabetes, and what raises your risk of developing diabetes can take a step to prevent it. This knowledge will allow individuals and inter-families alike to support each other in the efforts to live healthier and diabetes-free lives. Having a case study is a big help, especially when you want to learn new methods, because it will empower you with the data and it will help you to teach and lead more strategically and effectively. So, one of the advancement of having this is it will help us to apply knowledge to the practical situations.
In our case study, I learned how to be aware of the disease diabetes. Diabetes is not a chronic disease. It can also cause premature ejaculation. Our case study shows that diabetes has two stages. In the first chapter of our case study, you will find the introduction which states the explanation, definition, and the history of diabetes. You will also find in the disease diabetes up to the chapter 5 which states the links used and who wrote the articles mentioned. So here are the some backgrounds of the diabetes. So diabetes mellitus, commonly known as diabetes, is a metabolic disease that causes high blood pressure or simply high blood sugar. The hormone insulin moves sugar from the blood into your cells to be stored or used for energy. With diabetes, your body either doesn't make enough insulin or can't effectively use the insulin it does make. Untreated high blood sugar from diabetes can damage your nerves, eyes, kidneys, and other organs. In our case study under prevalence, I noted an article which says that in ancient times and medieval ages, diabetes was usually a death sentence. The ancient Indians tested for diabetes by looking at whether ants were attracted to person's urine. The Korean, Chinese, and Japanese word of diabetes are based on the same ideographs, which means sugar urine disease. Glucose comes from the foods you eat. Insulin is a hormone that helps a glucose into your cells to give them energy. With type 1 diabetes, your body does not make insulin. With type 2 diabetes, the more common type, your body does not make or use insulin well. Without enough insulin, the glucose stays in your blood. You can also have pre-diabetes. This means that your blood sugar is higher than the normal but not high enough to be called diabetes. Having pre-diabetes puts you at risk of getting type 2 diabetes. According to some source, during pregnancy, the placenta produces hormones to sustain your pregnancy. These hormones make your cells more resistant to insulin. Normally, your pancreas responds by producing enough extra insulin to overcome this resistance, but sometimes your pancreas can't keep up. When this happens, too little glucose gets into your cells and too much stays in your blood, resulting in gestational diabetes. I think I've said it all. That's it for my conclusion of my case study. Thank you very much and God bless.
Guys, I am Mima Namis and I will share my knowledge and my idea and also of what I learned while doing a case study about diabetes. So we all know that diabetes is a devastating disease that affects more than 200 million people worldwide. And diabetes is clearly one of the most medical problem of our time. So, people who have the knowledge and support to manage their diabetes are healthier than those who do not. Diba? Mas maganda kapag may idea na tayo. At it is important how to control your diabetes because it will save your time and money. And also, help you have fewer emergency and hospital visits. Our research group are trying to understand the causes of this disease, which is diabetes, well enough to design rational therapies to defeat. In the long run, not controlling diabetes can damage important organs like heart, your kidneys, your eyes, and also your nerves. This means that the heart disease and stroke, and also the kidney disease and vision problems and nerve problems can happen to people with diabetes. And to prevent diabetes disease it is important to have a healthy diet and together with regular physical activity, maintenance of a healthy body weight, and consumption of moderate amounts of alcohol and avoidance of sedentary behavior and smoking is likely to prevent, because it's better to prevent than cure. Yun nga po ang sabi nila. it is better to prevent than cure. Kaya, it is important to have a knowledge about all of disease para alam natin yung ginagawa natin. And that's all. Thank you.